everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Rosie with Sew Stitching Cold, and today's bag is a fun bag. It's part of the Bag of the Month Club, so this is February's Bag of the Month Club bag pattern. The bag pattern is by ISY SEW Patterns, and she created this bag specifically for the Bag of the Month Club. So there she is. Her name is Grace, and it is absolutely beautiful. Love the way this bag turned out. This flap is my favorite. I did change it up a little bit, but let's go over some of the features of the bag. So it does have a crossbody D-ring connector right here. And then it has a zippered pocket on the back. This really nice zippered pocket. Opens up. You can put your phone in there or anything you need quick access to because it's up against your body. And then the front has this beautiful flap that I have used a magnetic snap to open and close the bag. And then there's a slip pocket right here, right in the front of the bag, which is also another great place for a phone. And then the zippered part of the bag is a recessed zipper. So I love everything about this bag, and I love the way it turned out. I did make some changes. So some of the changes I made are basically on the outside of the bag. So what I did was change up the straps a little bit. The straps in the pattern have you make slits on the flap of the bag, which is this part. So right about where this strap keeper is, that's where the slit goes. So you'll cut into your flap and insert this strap flap through the slit. So then the bottom of the strap flap comes out the back side of the flap. So I did change that up a little bit. I had these beautiful strap keepers that I really wanted to use, so I went with that. I thought it was a good move, and I love the way it turned out. But you could also rivet these in place. You could do the slit and still rivet them in place. There's many options to play with the strap. It's a beautiful design feature on the outside of the bag, so play with it. I think it's awesome. So I chose this contrasting rose vinyl fabric from Your Vinyl Source. And then I have this beautiful lace vinyl on my flap. And then I used a regular black vinyl as well along with the lace. That is Mormino's clay vinyl. So this is the black one. I forget what it's called off the top of my head. I'm sorry, I'm not good with that. But I will go ahead and put links down below where everything is from. So this is from Your Vinyl Source. The lacy black vinyl is from Mormino. The regular black vinyl is also from Mormino. And the interior, I used a water-resistant canvas from Fabric Therapy. So when you open that flap, it opens up all the way. So it's this nice big flap. Opens all up. And then you have your recessed zipper. So on the inside of the bag, I used water-resistant canvas. So it's not as thick as waterproof canvas, but not as thin as other water-resistant canvases I've used. So it's like a nice medium weight, I would say. Love this water-resistant canvas. So it has this zippered pocket right here, and then on the other side has a slip pocket. Great size bag. You can fit lots of stuff in there, and it's very easy to put together. It looks complicated, but it's not. It's quite easy to put together. It's a very well written pattern, and yeah, I don't know what else to say other than I hope you try it, and I hope you join the Bag of the Month Club, because the patterns are a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to have a mystery pattern that comes up every month that you can look forward to sewing it. So this is February's, and I hope you all enjoyed as much as I did. And let me go ahead and try it on so you can kind of have an idea of what it looks like on. So here she is. So this is wearing it as a crossbody. Sorry, I'm not super tall. And that's what it kind of looks like on me. And then you can also carry this bag on your arm, just like that. The strap is one of those things that you can change. You don't have to make it to the size that the pattern says and make it work for you. So if you want to carry it way up here, make a bigger strap. Mine is a little bit smaller than what the pattern was written for, but I felt that the smaller strap was good for me. So there's the bag. Let me see, what else can we see? Yeah, that's basically it. It's great little bag. It was a lot of fun to sew, and let's get to sewing. Let's start by going over the pattern pieces. So here I have most of the pattern pieces. We'll start with these and then I'll bring in the rest of them. But this is our strap connectors, and from my strap connectors I have 2 pieces of my exterior fabric cut out. And from pattern piece D, which is the base of the bag, I will not be using purse feet, but there are spots on the pattern pieces for you to mark out where your purse feet will go. I will not be doing that today, but you'll need 1 cut of your exterior fabric or whatever you're choosing to use. And I've also already gone ahead and fused my Decoville Light to my bottom piece. Here is our piece F, pattern piece F, and you'll need 2 cuts of your exterior fabric. Here is pattern piece E, which is our gusset. You'll need 2 pieces of your exterior and 2 pieces of your interfacing, which I've gone ahead and interfaced to my gusset pieces already. Pattern piece K, this is your handle strap. You'll need 2 pieces cut out of your exterior, and I've gone ahead and marked my center line and added my double-sided sticky tape already to that. Here is pattern piece L, and this is our flap strap. I've gone ahead and cut this out of a contrasting fabric. It's also vinyl, so that way it's still vinyl, but I wanted something just a little bit different to pop. Up to you what you're choosing on using for your fabrics. All of my exterior, since I haven't made a note of that yet, is vinyl, and my interior is a water-resistant canvas. So I've gone ahead and drawn my lines down the center as well on both of these pieces and added my double-sided sticky tape. Here we have our pattern piece C. This is our main flap that is in front of the bag, and from this you will need 2 vinyl pieces, or you could do a vinyl piece on the exterior and a cotton woven or some type of other material on the interior piece. Just note that the interior piece, if you use something that frays, this pattern does have a spot where you'll be cutting slits for the straps. I will not be doing that in this tutorial. I have chosen to use strap keepers instead on the exterior to put my straps through. If you are going to be doing these slits, just keep in mind that if you're using fraying fabrics, you are cutting a slit through here, and to probably choose something that does not fray, or maybe interface it really well and use like fray check on that interior piece if you are using fraying type fabric. Alright, here are the rest of the pattern pieces, and this is our strap. So I've gone ahead and cut that out and drawn my line down the center and added my double-sided sticky tape to that. It's also cut out of my exterior black vinyl. This is pattern piece J, and these are our zipper tabs. Here we have our pattern piece B, and I have 1 cut out of a different exterior fabric. It's this lacy, really pretty pattern, I'm using two different black vinyls. One's more of a smoother, has like a leather feel and look to it. And then this one has the lace pattern to it. And both of these vinyls can be purchased at mormino.com. So again, this is our pattern piece B. This is our front slip pocket, and you'll need one of your exterior and one of your lining. My lining is this water resistant canvas from Fabric Therapy. All right, here we have pattern piece H, which is all of our pocket pieces. I have two cut out of my lining at the solid line, and then 4 at the dashed line. So you'll fold this pattern piece right here to cut your 4 pieces, and then 2 out of it completely opened up like this, and I have all that cut out of my water resistant canvas. Here we have pattern piece G. This is our main lining panel, and you'll need 2 cuts of your interior. And then here we have pattern piece A. This is our front and back, and you'll need 2 pieces of your exterior and 2 pieces of your foam. And this is the regular black, not the lacy vinyl that I have. And then I have 2 pieces of my foam cut out. Here I have all of the hardware we are going to be needing for the bag. So here I have my zipper tape. This is really pretty rose with gunmetal teeth, and I do carry this on my website. I have my 2 woven labels. This is my logo. This is one that says "You look really pretty today," and these are from Mormino. And then I have my bag tag, and then I have 2 D-rings. These are from Mormino. I have my rivet magnet snaps, or snap rivet. It's a magnetic snap that gets riveted on. I don't know what they're called. I do get these from Camp Snaps. And then I have a wide mouth slider, which is from Mormino, a extra large zipper end, which is from Mormino. I have 2 swivels, which is from So Girly Fun. 2 strap ends. These are longer strap ends, are super pretty. I've been holding on to these for a while, so I'm actually pretty excited to use them. I got these at ISY Swag. I have 3 zipper pulls. These are on my website. And then we have 2 strap keepers. This is what's a little different in the pattern that I'm doing. I'm going to use strap keepers for my straps to go through instead of using the slit that is written in the pattern. I wanted to use these. I thought it'd add in a little extra, I don't know, pizzazz to the bag. And then I have some rivets, and that is what you'll need for hardware to finish this bag. And now let's get started with our first step. On our first step, you are going to need your pattern pieces B and A, and I'm going to set aside the A pattern pieces for now. We're going to work on pattern piece B, and I also have my female end of my magnetic snap, which we'll be needing. So I'm going to set that aside just for a moment. And here I have my pattern piece for pattern piece B, which is the front slip pocket, and I have the exterior and the lining here. So I'm going to be working with the exterior only at the moment. And I'm going to center my pattern piece on my exterior flap here real quick. And I have my magnetic snap placement cut out. And I'm going to grab owl piercer. And I'm going to find the center. And I'm just going to eyeball it about there. And I'm going to pierce that through right there. And then this is where my snap is going to go. So I'm going to remove my paper piece. I'm going to install that magnetic snap through there, flip it around, use my little cap, and I'm going to grab my rivet press. So I have here my lining piece, which I'm going to flip right sides together, and I'm going to align all of these raw edges, and I'm going to clip them in place. And we're going to be taking this to the machine, and we're going to sew along the sides across the top and down this side, and we're going to leave the bottom open, and we're going to sew these 3 seams at a 3/8 seam allowance. Alright, we've sewn that at a 3/8 seam allowance, and now we're going to trim down our seam to about 1/4 inch. Alright, once you have your seam allowances trimmed, go ahead and turn your pocket right side out. Alright, I've got my pocket turned out and I've pushed out my corners really well. Just make sure to roll your seams, flatten those seams out, and push out your corners really well. I just used a pen and kind of pushed them in there gently to make sure I don't go through my stitches. And now we're going to go ahead and take this to the machine, and we're going to top stitch along the top edge and at an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, so just the top edge. Now grab one of your pattern piece A's with your foam already fused to the back. Make sure your foam is fused really well, that it doesn't lift on any of the corners. And you're going to put this right side up, and we're going to grab our slip pocket piece that we've top stitched, and we are going to line this up at the bottom edge of pattern piece A, but we're going to find our centers first. Alright, I have found my centers on this panel and on my slip pocket. So I'm going to line this up along the bottom, lining up the bottom raw edge of my slip pocket piece and my panel. And I'm going to use some clips and clip it in place. Okay, so now my slip pocket is clipped in place along the bottom, and we're going to take this to the machine, and we're going to top stitch from this top corner, and we're going to top stitch along at an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance all the way down this side seam. Across the bottom at a 1/4 inch seam allowance, we're basically basting the bottom on, and then we're going to top stitch again along this other side at an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, and back stitching really well at the start and end. Alright, our front slip pocket is now attached, and that looks really cute so far. Alright, so now we're going to set this panel aside, and we're going to move on to our step number 2. In step number 2, we are going to be working with our straps and our flap assembly. So here I have pattern piece I, which is our ring connectors. I have our pattern piece L, which is our flap straps, our crossbody strap, our, what are you, handle strap, which is pattern piece K, and our piece C, which is our flap. So for now, we're going to place all of this aside, and we are going to work with piece K, which is the handle straps. So here I have my handle straps. I have 2 of them, and we are going to flip these wrong side up, and if you haven't done so already, find your center, draw a line, and then place some double-sided sticky tape on both. So now I'm going to peel off my double-sided sticky tape. Alright, I have removed my my paper backing, and now I'm going to fold these raw edges up to that line, which I can barely see, but it's there. And you're going to fold in both raw edges up to that line. Alright, so I have my straps folded now, and what I did is that I folded those raw ends right to meet that middle line, and this is what you get. Okay, so now we have 2 of these. Now we're going to take this to the machine, and we're going to sew an 1/8 of an inch away from that center right through here. We're going to sew an 1/8 of an inch away from that on both sides, all the way down this strip, back down this way, and back down this way in the center, 1/8 inch away from both of these ends. So it should be about right there on both straps. Turn both of these over where I'm seeing the wrong side, so where we have those raw ends, and we're going to run a strip of double-sided sticky tape down the center of one of them. Okay, once you have your double-sided sticky tape on, go ahead and remove the backing. Once you have your backing removed, go ahead and grab your other strap that has the wrong side up, so we're going to flip that down and we're going to place that wrong sides together and then give a nice press down the center. So now you should have a strap that has two right sides. Sorry, I'm trying to have a new camera. Two right sides on each side so you don't see your raw ends. So now we're going to go to the sewing machine again, and so 1/8 of an inch from this end we're going to sew another line of stitching on both sides. Strap is now done. This is what you should have. So I'm going to go ahead and put this aside. Alright, here I have my crossbody strap. Again, this is also pre-prepped. There's just a line drawn down the center and I placed double-sided sticky tape. So I'm going to do the same exact thing that I did with the handle. I'm going to remove my double-sided sticky tape and I'm going to bring my raw ends, these two raw ends, into the center. And I cut my strap, my crossbody strap, at 4 inches wide because I'm just doing a regular traditional crossbody strap, how I always make my crossbody straps. In the pattern, excuse me. In the pattern, there is directions on doing a two-sided strap, and I'm not going to do a two-sided strap today, so if that's what you're doing, this part of the pattern is going to be a little different. Once you have your raw ends folded to the center, go ahead and now fold this in half. So we are creating a 1-inch strap. So I'm going to go ahead and just place some clips. Once you have your strap clipped, go ahead and take this to the machine, and we are going to sew 1/8 of an inch from both sides. And we are going to top stitch on the open side first. So we're going to go all the way down the open side first, then come back around the bottom and along this side at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. The strap is now done. Now we can set our strap aside for now. Now you want to grab your ring connectors, and it's same thing. Line down the center, pull your backing off, bring your raw ends to meet that line. Right, the ring connectors are now folded in, and we're going to take this to the machine and we're going to sew down this the outside edges and the center as well. So we're going to do the center first, and we're going to sew 1/8 of an inch away from this side and on this side. So right in here, 1/8 of an inch from there, and then 1/8 of an inch on the outside as well. We're going to do that with both ring connectors, and then we're going to go ahead and fold in our strap, flap strap, I believe is what this is called. Yeah, flap straps. We're going to just go ahead and fold that into the center as well while we're here. Alright, my strap flaps are now folded, raw ends to the center. And I'm going to be doing my strap flaps just a little bit differently as well. I'm not changing a lot, but I am changing a few things. I'm going to grab my pattern piece here, which is what we will be using to place our grab handle or strap handle. I call it a grab handle, but strap handle is going to go here. And then this shows sewing stop here marks and strap slits. I'm not doing the strap slits. I will be doing the strap handle. What I am doing real quick, because I am doing something differently, is that I'm going to line up my strap right along these lines, because that's where it's going to go on my flap. And I'm going to place a clip. So it says sewing stops here. So I'm going to make a little line on both sides. And then I'm going to grab a ruler and I'm going to make a line across that so I know. I'm using a silver marking pen, so it does come off of vinyl. So you want to make these markings, because you'll still be making markings if you're doing the strap the way the pattern is written. You'll still be making markings, so you always want to use a pen that's not going to permanently mark your fabric, because this part will be seen in the end. So I'm going to take this to the machine now, so now I can take this off. So I'm going to take this to the machine, and what I'm going to do is that I'm going to sew the bottom half, and I'm going to go, because this is what we would be doing if we did both sides. So I'm going to sew from this edge all the way up to my mark line, across my mark line, and back down. Same on this one, all the way up to my mark line and back down, 1/8 of an inch from each side. And then we're going to sew the center as well. So maybe doing the centers first. Yeah, we're going to do the centers first. Centers first. So we're going to sew down the centers all the way from one end to the other, 1/8 of an inch from that center. Come back and do it on the other side as well, 1/8 of an inch from that center on both straps. And then we're going to come back, and I'm going to do 1/8 of an inch on the outside edges all the way across that line and back down on both straps. So then my bottom half is done the way it's supposed to be done, but without that second layer. Alright, so these are done. I'm going to set these aside for a second, and I'm going to grab my pattern piece and my front flap, one of my front flap pieces. And I'm going to put my pattern piece on my flap, and I'll align the raw edges, place a few clips to hold it in place. And now we are going to transfer the spots where our strap handle is going to go. I've gone ahead and cut out these square spots already. If you haven't done so, go ahead and do that. And now I'm going to grab a ink pen. This is from Mormino, and this does come off of vinyl. It comes off of most vinyls. You might want to do a test spot if you're leery or something, depending on the type of fabric you're using. But I have never had any problems on vinyl. Alright, so I drew my little squares where my handle is going to go. Now we're going to take this off, and I'm going to set my panel piece aside, and now I'm gonna fold down these lines right here where my strap is going to be positioned. So I'm gonna do this outside one first, and I'm going to fold. And the reason why I'm going to be folding this is so I can make markings on my flap on where my strap, my flap strap is going to go. Okay, so my pattern piece now is folded along those lines. So just like that. And now I'm going to grab my flap where I made my markings for my handle. And I'm going to go one by one. So I'm going to start on the right side, and I'm going to fold in this right side in first. So the furthest line, right side in. So I'm going to line this up with my raw edges, place a few clips, make sure it doesn't move. Now I have a straight line to make my markings. So again, using that ink pen that will not permanently mark my fabric, I am going to make my lines. So I'm going to make this line. And then I'm going to fold in this side and make this line. So this will give me a place where I'm going to place my straps. So I'm going to transfer my clips over to the other side, just like that. And again on the other side, same thing, fold in the furthest one first and draw my lines. And we're going to draw a 1/4 inch line from this edge, so from the furthest edge from the raw edge, we want to draw a 1/4 inch line. So we're going to do 1/4 inch, and you want to do a 1/4 inch from that box, from the inner side of that box. So from here to here is a 1/4 inch. Same on the other side. All right, so here I have my handle. So I'm gonna put this end right along this line I just drew. That's a 1/4 inch in from the line. So I'm gonna use double-sided sticky tape to help me with this. So I'm gonna put some on both ends. And we're gonna line that handle up with that line we drew. And then same with the other side. Okay, and now we're gonna take this to the machine and we are going to baste our handle down. All right, so my strap is now, or handle, I guess, is now basted onto the flap. I'm gonna go ahead and take my strap flaps back to the machine, and I had earlier made my lines of where the sewing is going to stop because I am doing this just a little bit differently. And I'm going to go to the machine and I'm going to sew 1/8 of an inch away from these two ends up to this line where I had marked earlier, sew across it and come back down at 1/8 of an inch from this edge as well. So I'm going to start here, go up across that line and back down at 1/8 of an inch on both of them. And I'm only going to that line that I drew. So I went ahead and did the sewing just on the bottom half. So it looks like that. And then the top half is still not sewn on the edges because this is how I'm going to sew the straps down onto my flap. So now I am going to use double-sided sticky tape and I'm going to put it on the back side of my flap. So I'm going to turn them right side down. So I grabbed some 1/2 inch double-sided sticky tape and I'm going to run that from the top up till just before that line. I'm going to take the backing off and I'm going to line up my raw edge with this raw edge, and I'm going to place my strap within those lines that we made earlier. Same with the other side. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this to the machine and I'm going to sew down this outside edge at 1/8 of an inch down this way, and then about right here, so about a 1/4 inch or so, I want to say, let's just make those lines because I'm making this up as I go because I am not following the patterns, so to say, here exactly. It's very similar, but it's not exact. So I did a 1/4 of an inch from this line here up. So I'm going to sew at 1/8 of an inch on this edge all the way down across that line and back up the other side. Same on the other side, and then I'm going to place a rivet right here. So I've gotten my straps sewn on, so they're only sewn at the top onto the flap, and this portion is still loose. I decided to go with these really pretty strap keepers, so I'm going to be installing these to basically hold the strap, I guess. I don't know, it's more of a look thing than anything else. So I have those here and I have some rivets. So I'm going to go ahead and put my rivets in for my handles now. So I'm doing rivets right here where I had left that space, and then right here on the handle. So those I can do by hand. Alright, so I got those holes done. Now I will place my rivets. Alright, my rivets are now on, so now I'm going to press them in place. Alright, my rivets are now in place, and now I'm going to go back to my pattern piece. So here it is. And right here is where it shows you where you will be cutting your strap slits. I'm going to basically put my strap keepers where those strap slits are. So I probably should have done this before, but I could just measure from the bottom. Here's my pan. Just move that over slightly so I can make a line on where that goes. Right there. Alright, so now I will grab my little strap keepers here and I will move my straps out of the way, and I will move out of the way, Maybe if I clip them there we go. And I'm gonna use my hand punch. All right, so I have my holes now punched, and I'm going to use my little strap keepers. So there's a little washer, and there's actual like screws that have like a flat head on them. So here's a washer and some screws, and you do want to make sure that that screw goes in straight. So once you get that nice and straight, go ahead and screw the one side in. Don't tighten it down too much, and then get the other side on before you tighten them down completely. Okay, and now I will tighten them down all the way. And one little strap keeper is installed. So go ahead and do the same to the other side if this is what you're doing. Alright, so I've gotten my other strap keeper on, and now I'm going to flip this over, and I'm going to put some duct tape on this just to protect it a little bit. I just take little strips of this duct tape, which is actually Gorilla Tape. All the same thing, I think. Alright, so now that is protected on the other side, and my little strap keepers are now installed. And voila, that is how that's going to look. So then down here I have strap ends. I can go ahead and just install those now, actually. We might as well. So these are my little strap ends. I'm going to have to fold those over a little bit to make these strap ends work. And how I like to do things around here is that we go with the flow, and that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to fold these in just a little bit to give me that thickness I need to make these work. Alright, so I've gotten my strap ends installed. My little strap keepers are installed. And now what we're going to do is that we're going to grab our other flap, which I have here. And I don't have my stabilizer on it yet, so excuse me, I'm gonna go ahead and go fuse this on real quick, and then we're gonna come back and add the other side of our flap to the exterior. Alright, so I've gone ahead and attached my Deckleville light to the back. I did cut it out of my seam allowance, and now I'm gonna find my centers real quick, because I'm going to add my other magnetic snap on, and this is the male end that I'm going to be applying to this side of the flap, because I am doing a magnetic snap instead of a turn lock. So I have found my centers, and I'm going to just do it on this side where I can see a little better. And I think I'm going to go 2 3/4. I'm going to make a mark right at the center. Insert the magnetic snap. Flip it around. Put my little cap on. Alright, so that is now set. Alright, so now I've got my rivet press out of the way, and now we're going to put these two flap pieces right sides together. So we've got a handle going on here, we've got these straps, so we want to make sure we move them out of the way as we do this. We're gonna meet all the raw edges along the top, sides, and bottom, and we're gonna clip, and then go ahead and clip all the way around. Alright, I have my flap all the way clipped all the way around, and we're going to sew from one side at the top, going all the way down, all the way around the bottom, and ending on the other side at the top. So we're going to back stitch really well at the start and end, and then you're going to leave this top portion open. We do not want to sew this top portion of our flap closed, and we're going to sew this at a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Right, so I've sewn my seam, and now I'm going to trim it down to about 1/4 inch, and I'm going to use pinking shears. You can use regular scissors if you do not have pinking shears. Alright, I've got my seam allowance trimmed down, and now we are going to turn our flap right side out. My flap is now turned right side out, and if you have fabrics that you can iron, then it would be nice to take this to the iron right now and give it a nice press, but I have vinyl on both sides, so I cannot. So I'm just gonna sit here and I'm gonna massage these seams and roll them out until they sit nice and flat. And then once you have everything the way you want it, we're going to take this to the machine and we are going to top stitch along this edge. So we're going to start up here, we're going to top stitch along this edge at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. We move our flaps out of the way, continue going all the way up and ending right up here. Alright, so I am done with the top stitching and almost forgot about my bag tag. So I'm going to do that before this part of my flap gets closed and I forget. Okay, make sure it's sitting nice and straight. And my bag tag is now installed on my flap. So I'm putting these little plastic things over these guys because I have a feeling they'll like scratch a lot. So I want to make sure that they don't get all scratched up while I work with it. So I think we are done with our flap now. I think we get to move on. So now it's step 3 and it's going to be your back exterior. So let's move the flap aside and grab our materials. Now we are on step 3 and we're going to be working on our back exterior. So grab 2 of your longer zippered pockets, or should be only 2. Grab your 9-inch zipper and zipper pull already applied. And then grab your pattern piece J, which are your zipper tabs. And your last back piece from pattern piece A, which is like this. So then what you want to do is that we're going to move all this aside for now, including the phone. You're going to take your pattern piece and you're going to fold pattern piece A at the dashed lines. And then you're going to place it on top of your pattern piece and you're going to cut straight down that line to create 2 pieces from your last pattern piece A. So this is what you should have. So it should be, starts off like this, cut it at the dash line, this is what you have. So we're going to put our pattern piece aside and we are going to move on to the zipper. So I'm going to move that aside for now. Grab my zipper tabs and we're going to prepare our zipper. So grab your zipper tabs and lay them wrong side up, so right side together with your zipper. So your zipper is facing up and your zipper tabs are right side together with the zipper. So you should be seeing the back side of your zipper tab. And then we're going to take this to the machine and we're going to sew down on the raw ends at a 3/8 seam allowance. Alright, our zipper is now prepared. So what I did is that we sewed down at this raw edge at a 3/8 seam allowance. Then I grabbed my zipper tab and I flipped it out and top stitched on both sides. So now I'm going to trim down my zipper tabs so they are the same size as my zipper on the sides because the zipper tabs are just a little bit wider. So I'm going to trim those down. And we are going to grab one of our zipper pockets and it's going to be facing right side up. And then I'm going to grab my zipper and it's going to lay right side up across this top edge of my zipper pocket. So first I'm going to find my centers on my zipper. So if you don't want to clip into your zipper tape, that's fine. I know some people don't like to do that, but I just do teeny tiny little clips. And then I'm going to find the center on my pocket as well. And here you can use clips or double-sided sticky tape, whatever works for you. I'm going to use double-sided sticky tape. And we're going to be laying this zipper across the long edge of the pocket piece. And I'm going to find my center first. and then stick down my tape. Your zipper tabs will be a little bit longer, but that's how the pattern is written, so you can trim it down. Alright, my zipper is now aligned on this top edge of my zippered pocket. So now you can go base this at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I am just going to roll with it the way it is because my tape is holding it in place. So if you need to, go base this at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And then we're going to grab the bottom piece of our back piece. So we had cut this top piece off, we want the bottom piece. And so now we're going to flip this right sides together, so you should be seeing the wrong side of this bottom back piece. And we're going to align this along the top edge. Alright, once you have that lined up, you should have your zippered pocket, your zipper sandwiched in between, and the bottom piece. So these are right sides together with our zipper sandwiched in the middle. Alright, so now we're going to go to the machine and we're going to sew across this top edge at a 3/8 seam allowance. Alright, so we've stitched along this top edge at a 3/8 seam allowance, and now I'm going to grab my zipper pocket piece and I'm going to flip it back behind this bottom piece. And I'm going to press this seam really well. And then we're going to go to the machine and we're going to top stitch along this seam. And my zipper is going in the wrong direction. Well, my zipper is going in the wrong direction, so I'm going to have to fix that. Somehow I got it twisted. I don't know. So I'm going to go do some seam ripping. I'm going to go do some seam ripping and redo this, so then that way my zipper is going in the right direction. But if you flip this back, your pocket piece should be in the back, so now it should be wrong sides together. And you'll top stitch along this seam at 1/8 inch seam allowance. Alright, I've gone ahead and fixed my zipper so it is going in the right direction, and I've top stitched that seam. So definitely when you are doing that step, make sure that your zipper pull is facing on the right side, not the left side. Let's move on. Alright, so now we're going to grab our remaining zippered pocket lining piece, and we're going to place this right side up on our workspace, and we're going to grab the unit that we have been working with, and we're going to lay this part of our raw zipper that we have left on top of that, matching up our centers. So I am going to grab some double-sided sticky tape and I'm going to lay some across the top of this zippered pocket. Alright, so I'm going to line up my center, and then I'm going to stick my zipper down. Alright, so once you have lined up this raw edge with the raw edge of your pocket piece, we are going to now grab our flap. So now we're going to grab our flap, which we have pretty much assembled, and we are going to turn this right side down, and we're going to line up this raw edge with this raw edge on our zipper tape. So again, I'm going to use double-sided sticky tape, and I'm going to find my centers first on my flap. Then I'm going to lay my double-sided sticky tape on my flap edge here. And this part will be a little tricky because we have a handle and we have these little flappy doos down here, but just squish it out of the way. So here we have our piece we've been working on, our flap, and you want to go right side down. And we're going to line up those centers. Alright, so this is what you should have. This is your flap. You should be seeing the back side of your flap. And then sandwiched in between is your pocket that you've been working on, right sides together. So now we're going to go to the machine and we're going to baste along this raw edge at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. We've basted our flap on now, and so this is what you should have. And now you want to grab the remaining top piece to our back piece here that we had cut off, and we are going to make sure that there's a shorter end at the top and a longer end at the bottom, and we're going to turn that right side down, And I did interface mine with some heavy interfacing. So I used a Decoville Heavy. It's not in the pattern to do so. I just felt that when this flap is open like this, so we're going to be sewing that on like that, and then we're going to top stitch, and then this flap, when it opens, it'll be some weight on this top portion of our bag. So I wanted to give it a little bit more rigidity so it doesn't like fall on itself. We are going to be using foam once we put all this together. We're going to baste our foam on, not baste it, but fuse it on. But I don't feel that the foam with the weight of that flap would be enough, and that the foam would buckle a little bit. We're gonna see. I hope this makes sense, but that's what I'm doing. I'm testing it to see if doing the Decoville Heavy will keep it from doing that. I just have a feeling that that's what it would do. So I'm going with the Decoville Heavy on this portion. You don't have to. That's just what I'm doing. All right, so now I'm gonna find my centers on my top piece here real quick. I found my centers on the top and bottom, and that's going to be right side down, long edge against raw edge. And I think I'm going to tape this as well. Right, once you have that there, you can go ahead and place a few clips just so it doesn't come off, because this section of our flap is now becoming a little thick. So I'm just going to place a few clips to hold it there, and now we're going to go to the machine and we're going to sew along this raw edge at a 3/8 seam allowance. Alright, so we've gone ahead and stitched across this raw edge, and now we're going to flip up this top piece that we just stitched on, and now we're going to go to the machine and we're going to top stitch along this seam at a 3/8 seam allowance. Alright, so we've done our top stitching along this seam, and now what we're going to do is that we're going to flip this unit right side down, so we're going to be seeing the back side of our pocket. So the one side of the pocket piece is going to be a little shorter than the other side. We will trim that down. So I'm going to go ahead and grab some clips, and I'm going to clip these on the sides real quick, and we're going to go to the machine and we're going to go close this pocket. You're not going to be able to close the pocket completely right off the bat because you won't be able to get close enough, but we're going to get as close as possible, and we're going to sew it a 3/8 seam allowance along the side, the bottom, and back up this side. And then we will flip it back around and close up this spot right here where we can't get to. So try to get as close as possible without sewing on your exterior. So you're going to want to sew it this direction, and you're going to sew down this way, and up this way at a 3/8 seam allowance. Alright, so we've gone ahead and sewn our pocket closed. I'm going to go ahead and trim it now real quick. Alright, so I have my pocket trimmed, and now we're going to close up this pocket from here to here. And we can go back to the machine, and this time we will be catching the exterior in our seam allowance, and it's going to be a 3/8 seam allowance. Just make sure you do not hit your zipper, so I'm going to move my zipper out of the way. And we're going to close it from this top edge to where we had stopped our stitching. Same on the other side, from this top edge to where we had stopped our stitching. And I stopped my stitching right at the end of that zipper right here, so I did not catch my front flap. So that's where I'm going to sew to. Alright, so we've gone ahead and stitched this section closed on both sides. So you should only have that little bit of stitching between the flap and the bottom part of the bag. So it's just that little small spot right there. Alright, so let's move this aside. Our flap and back panel, oh nope, they're not. We got to put on our foam. So now I'm going to take this to my iron, and I'm going to move my flap out of the way, and I'm going to flatten this the best I can and add my foam. So then that way this back panel piece now is stabilized. So I got my foam fused on. It's nice and fused. It did take a little bit to get it fused. mainly because there's so much going on behind, and I needed to protect my vinyl, and so I just took my time, made sure it was nicely fused. And here, because I just can't help it, because it is looking so stinking cute. I am loving the way this is turning out. I want to see what it looks like so far. So I'm going to put some clips in just to hold it in place. I got my front panel and my back panel together so I can see what it's going to look like. And then we close our flap. So this is what the bag is going to look like so far. Or this is what it looks like so far. That is super, super cute. So I have the lace fabric here in the center, so on my flap in the center part and not on this side. And on the back side, this is what it looks like so far. Really, really cute. Oh, I'm so excited to see what it looks like all together. Alright, now we're going to move on to the next step, which is our gusset assembly, and we're going to start off with our ring connectors. So we had done these earlier. Grab your 2 D-rings or whatever ring connector you are using and insert, actually it says to draw a 1-inch line down on the back side where our raw edges were folded into, so we'll do that. So I need a ruler, a marking pen, and we're going to measure 1 inch from either raw side of the short raw sides. Well, those are the only raw sides, so we're going to measure 1 inch. That should do. And then we're going to insert our D-ring, and we're going to do that on the other side. And then we're going to grab some double-sided sticky tape and place it underneath that line. And then we're going to remove the backing and fold this down at that line and bring our raw end in, and then fold in the bottom onto that double-sided sticky tape, and your ring connector is done. So do that to your second one. Alright, so I have both my ring connectors folded over and ready to go. So now I'm going to grab the gusset pieces, which are pattern piece E, and I have my pattern piece here. So we want to fold at this dashed line to get our ring connector placement. I'm going to fold there and grab one of my gusset pieces, line up those raw edges, and I want to make a line right about there. I'm not going to draw a line all the way across because then you'll see it. This is a vinyl and a vinyl pen, which is fine, but no need to draw a line all the way across. So I'm just kind of centering a line right about there. So I have a line on both. So now I know where my connector is going to go. And then I'm going to find my centers real quick just to help me center my connector piece just a little bit. Do one connector piece at a time so I don't lose my crease. I'm going to use some more double-sided sticky tape. That seems to be a little bit more than I need. I'm going to put one on the back of this one on the back of this one. And then you want to line up the top portion of your connector with that line, and you want to center your connector. So that looks pretty straight to me, and I'm right on the line. So that's what you want to do, and you want to do that with the next one. All right, they both look very straight, or straight enough, and now we're going to go to the machine and we're going to stitch these connectors on. I'm going to do a box stitch. So I'm not a box stitch, just, well, not the one with the X. I'm going to just stitch across the top, stitch down the line, stitch lines I already have on my connector, and stitch down the bottom and back up. Same with this one. So if you have a zipper foot, right now would be a good time to use it, so then that way you can get as close as you can to this connector without hitting your connector. connectors sewn on, and I think they look actually really good. It's probably the best connector application I've ever done. I think it looks really good. Alright, so let's grab our bottom piece, which is pattern piece D. And I did a layer of Decoville Light originally, but I ended up doing another layer of Decoville Light. So there's 2 layers of Decoville Light, just because I felt that the bottom piece needed just a little more stabilizing. It might be just my my fabrics are a little more on the drapey side, so I felt it needed more, so I added more. That doesn't mean you have to. I'm basically playing around, testing to see what stabilizers are going to be best for this. Kind of like I added that Decoville Heavy to that back flap part. Not part of the pattern. I just thought it needed it. It may not, but I added 2 layers to my bottom piece, and I also added 2 layers of Decoville Light to my side gusset pieces. These were also just 1 layer of Decoville Light according to the pattern, but I did 2. Alright, so now we are going to grab our bottom piece, and we are going to have that right side up, and we are going to clip. So this is the short end, which is where our D-ring is, our connector. We want this to be away, and we are going to line up this bottom piece of our side gusset along with this short end of our base piece. They should be the same size. So if they are not the same size across, then you know you have it wrong. Clip in place, and then we're going to clip in place the other side as well. Alright, so both of these sides are now clipped in place, and we're going to take this to the machine and we're going to sew along these 2 sides at a 3/8 seam allowance. Alright, I've gotten both of those seams sewn at a 3/8 seam allowance, and now we are going to flip this around, and we're going to open up these seams. So we're going to butterfly them open, and we are going to top stitch these down, or top stitch them open. I don't even know how you would say that. So place 2 clips and butterfly open your seams. So that should hold them open. We're going to go to the machine, and now we're going to top stitch on either side of the seam at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance on both sides. Alright, I have top stitched my gusset seams open, and now we are going to grab our already assembled front panel with our slip pocket and magnetic snap. And you want to make sure that all your centers have been found. Earlier in the step we should have already marked this one. If you haven't already, please find your centers on your front panel and on your back side panel, because we will be needing to have our centers marked to add it to our gusset. So have your panel piece facing up, and here I have my gusset piece that's facing up, and I have my center right there. So I'm going to flip this right sides together, and I'm going to match up that center, and I'm going to put a clip. And then you're going to find your top edge and clip on both sides. And now we're going to finish clipping all the way around, and we're going to ease in our corners. So I'm going to flip down my D-rings just so they are out of the way. And I'm going to start clipping, and I might end up using staples to sew this. So up to you on what you want to do. I'm just clipping it for now. I'll ease in my corner next. I'm just going to clip all the straight edges. Okay, so here I have all of my straight edges clipped at the bottom and on the sides, and now I'm going to ease in my corners. So this is the easiest way to do this, and I think I'm going to staple this part because everything else is nicely clipped and holding on. So I'm going to staple along the outside edge because we will be sewing this at a 3/8 seam allowance. Alright, so what I do to ease my corners, I kind of just put my fabrics together in like a bowl shape, and then I start to just staple as I go. And you want to staple outside of your seam allowance, but if you don't, that's okay. You can pull the staple out as you sew. And then I just kind of go around until it all just fits in nicely. And you might have to finagle it a little bit, but it should all fit in pretty good. So I'm going to finish putting all my staples in, and just like that. Put one more right there. Just really like my corners not to move when I'm at the sewing machine. So I'll put a few more clips on the side. I'm not going to staple my sides. I think they will be fine. And now we're going to go to the machine and we're going to sew around this gusset, starting at the top, going all the way around and finishing up here. Back stitching really well at beginning and end, and we're going to do that at a 3/8 seam allowance. Alright, so I've sewn on the gusset. Now I need to remove my staples, but I'll wait. We're going to add on this other panel. So grab the panel with your front flap, and we're going to turn it right side down. And you're going to want the flap to be sticking out that way. So you want everything to just be sticking out that way. You want the handle to be tucked in. So tuck your handle in, and then we're going to start clipping this back panel on. And I'm going to start at the top, place a clip, and then find my centers, and then start clipping my straight edges first, and then ease in my corners just like I did the other side. Alright, I've gotten my gusset clipped and stapled along the curves here, and now we're going to go to the machine and do the same exact thing as we did on the other side, and we're going to sew that on at a 3/8 seam allowance. Alright, so I've gotten the other side of our panel onto our gusset, and now we are going to trim down our seam allowances to a 1/4 inch or so. So go ahead and trim down your seam allowances. Alright, I've gone ahead and trimmed down my seam allowances and turned out my bag. That was a little harder to do than I thought it would be, but I got it turned out, and this is what it looks like so far. So there's the front. I got a teeny bit of puckering right here, but not too bad. And then here's the back. And super cute so far. Alright, so let's move on to the lining. Our next step is going to be the lining assembly, which is step 6. So here you will be using the rest of what you have left to make the bag, except for the strap hardware, which I haven't done yet, and that should be it. So we've got 2 zippers. This is a 9-inch zipper and a 12-inch zipper, and our zipper pulls are already attached. You'll need your 4 pocket pieces from pattern piece H, your 2 main lining pieces from pattern piece G, and then your 2 recessed zippered bands, and there's 2 of these. So first we're going to work with our pockets, and I'm going to set everything else aside. Alright, so here I have my 2 pocket pieces. We have 1, 2, and we're going to do right sides together. We're going to line up all of our raw ends or edges, and we're going to place a clip, and we're going to be taking this to the machine, and we are going to sew around all four edges except for leaving a 4 or 5 inch sew opening at the bottom for turning. And we're going to sew this at a 3/8 seam allowance. So I'm going to leave myself about a 5 inch opening or so. I just want to make sure that I mark it, because if I don't, I will I'll forget. So I'm going to do 5.5. And you want to backstitch really well at the beginning and end of both of these, because we will be turning this pocket through this hole, and you'll be putting some tugging on these spots. So make sure you backstitch really well. Alright, so let's go to the machine. Alright, I got my pocket sewn. I did sew my seam allowance at a 1/4 inch except for and it should have been a 3/8 seam allowance. So you're supposed to cut them down to a 1/4 inch, and I had that in my mind. So you're supposed to sew this at a 3/8 seam allowance, cut it down to a 1/4 inch. I sewed it at a 1/4 inch. I'm gonna make it work. So I'm gonna trim off my corners here, and now we're gonna turn our pocket. Poke out my corners well, and then go take this to the iron and give it a good press. And then we'll be back. Alright, I went ahead and gave my pocket a nice press, and now we're ready to take it to the machine and top stitch along the edge where we left our opening, along the edge at an 1/8 inch seam allowance. And then for you wondering how I poke out my corners, I either use this guide depending on what types of fabrics I'm using, or if it's a lot of vinyl. Obviously this isn't really strong enough to poke out corners, so I'll use like the end of a pen, of like a blunt pen. These pens are pretty blunt on the ends, which actually is what I use the most of the time. And little like skinnier type things like this, where I need to get a nice corner, I'll use this, but I am very careful because this is kind of pointy, and you can go through your stitches if you don't if you're not careful. But I'll use like the back side of this part right here and kind of push through on those corners. So that's basically what I use, nothing fancy. This thing is called a purple thing. I know there's a lot of other things out there nowadays to help you poke out corners. This is just what I have and what I normally use most of the time, being a pen. Alright, so let's go take this to the machine and top stitch at an 1/8 inch seam allowance. So I have done my top stitching, and I am going to add, this wasn't part of the original stuff I had cut out. I just came up with this. So I think it'd be kind of cute to add a decorative touch on the top of that pocket. So I think I'm going to go and sew this strip along the top part of my pocket, and this strip is about 9 inches long and 1 inch wide. And then I'm going to add my logo into this pocket because I have not done that yet, so that's another reason why I'm doing that. And yeah, this is not part of the pattern, it's just something that adds to it. I think it makes it look really cute, kind of finishes it off real nicely. So I'm just folding over this strip over that top edge that we top stitched, making sure that they're about even on both sides. So I'll catch it with the machine, and now I'm going to go sew about an 1/8 of an inch away from this raw edge of this strip all the way down. And oh, and I need to add my tag before I forget again. Where do I want this? I think right about there would be cute. Alright, tags on and decorative touches on. Alright, so I'm going to go sew this at an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Alright, so here's my pocket. Super cute. And now I'm going to trim off my ends here. So now my pocket is done, and now we'll move on to the next step. Now grab one of your main linings, your pocket that we just finished, a ruler, and some double-sided sticky tape. So measuring down the measurement on the pattern. Oh, and I need to put some double-sided sticky tape on the back side so it doesn't move. Doesn't need to be a lot, just a little bit. All right, I have a small strip of double-sided sticky tape there. And I see that you can't really see what I'm doing. Mainly because I have to see what I'm doing. All right, I have my ruler centered. Make my center mark again real quick. Double-sided sticky tapes on the back. And then I'm going to center my pocket. So that's where my ruler was. I measured down according to the measurements on the pattern, and now we're going to take this to the machine and we're going to sew from this top edge all the way along this edge, down across the bottom, and up this edge, back stitching well at beginning and stop on both sides at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Alright, my pocket is stitched on, and I'm going to do, I didn't stitch all the way to the top, and I started right underneath my strip because I'm going to do rivets instead. So I'm going to eyeball where I'm going to put those rivets. I'm going to use a ruler-ish and kind of get an idea of where I want that rivet. Alright, our pocket is now done. I set my rivets and I think it looks super, super cute. Alright, so let's set this lining piece aside. Now grab one of your remaining pocket pieces. You should have 2 left. This is 1. So we're going to turn this right side down, and we're going to grab a ruler and a marking tool, or you could use the pattern piece if you'd like. I'm going to use a ruler. Where's my, probably should find my center here. Find my center on my pocket. Alright, I have my center marked on my pocket. I'm going to grab a ruler, and according to the measurements on the pattern, I'm going to go down from the top edge, and I'm going to draw a box that is half an inch wide and 7.5 inches long. Alright, that is the box, and then you're going to draw a line down the middle of that box. It does not have to be perfection. And then you can draw your V's in if you'd like. Alright, and now what we're going to do is that we're going to grab our remaining main panel piece, right side up, and our pocket that we just drew our pocket box on, right side together, and measuring 1 inch from the top, centered, which I have my center mark on my pocket. You want to place your pocket, and in order to keep it from moving, you can pin this in place or maybe use a little bit of double-sided sticky tape, but you will need to remove it to turn your pocket through the hole. So up to you. I'm just going to take it to the machine the way it is, and we're going to stitch around this box, not down the middle, the center line, just around the box with a smaller stitch length. And you want to make sure that you are stitching really well at your corners. So you want to back stitch at your corners really well. So when we go and cut out our pocket piece down this middle section, you're going to cut into those corners, and having the extra back stitching there will strengthen these corners. So let's take this to machine and stitch around this box all the way around. Alright, so my pocket keeps moving, so I'm going to use some washi tape. So I'm going to re-measure that. Pocket just keeps moving. Normally I can bring it over to the machine without having to do this, but it keeps moving on me. Alright, so grab some washi tape. This will work as well because it's not super sticky, but just sticky enough to keep it from moving. Now we're going to go to the machine and stitch that down. Alright, I've gotten my pocket piece stitched on. I'm going to remove my washi tape. Alright, and now we're going to grab a pair of scissors, and I am going to cut into this line that I drew there. First I need a seam ripper. Here I got a seam ripper. We're going to use this to start our cut. Okay, that should be good. And I can insert my scissors and cut. Again, it doesn't need to be perfect. And then you want to cut down to where that triangle is. You don't want to cut all the way to the end. So you just cut down right to where that tip of the triangle is, right about there. And then you're going to go down to these corners and snip little V's. And you want to go as close as possible to the threads without snipping your threads. I really like these super pointy scissors for that because they can get right up into those corners really well. Alright, once you've done that, go ahead and push your pocket through that hole. And then we're going to take this to the iron and we're going to press this really well to make it nice and flat. And I can use my iron on the right side of this, not on the wrong side. So I'm going to press these seams really well. And go to my iron. Alright, I've gone ahead and given this a good press. Now we're going to grab our remaining 9-inch zipper. And I'm going to make sure that my zipper is closing to the left in this application. This is how you will do it if that's how you want your pocket to be. So it'll close to the left, open to the right. I'm going to grab some double-sided sticky tape. Normally I use 1/8 inch double-sided sticky tape for this. I am completely out of 1/8 inch. So 1/4 inch it is. Alright, sorry about that. I had a call come in. So I've taken my backing off of that double-sided sticky tape and I'm going to do one at a time so I can kind of see where I want to place this. I might move it around some more and go to the back side, remove this side of the double-sided sticky tape, and then lay this side down. Alright, I think that looks pretty good, and now we're going to take this to the machine and we are going to top stitch along this around this box along this seam at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance all the way around. And if Alright, our pocket is now done, and so now we're going to flip this over and I'm going to flip my lining away and I'm going to fold up about 3/8 of an inch on this pocket piece. Oh, I folded that the wrong way. Let's fold this way. I'm going to fold it wrong sides together. Alright, I have my pocket bottom folded wrong sides together. It does not want to stay. I'm going to place a clip there to keep it from wanting to open back up on me. And then you want to do the same with this remaining pocket piece. And you want to fold it away. Alright. And then you're going to join these pocket pieces together, lining up the raw edges and clip in place. And then we are going to sew along the sides and the top, making sure that our lining is out of the way. You do not want to sew on your lining, so you want to close your pocket by sewing the top edge, the side edges, but not the bottom. This is where we're going to be turning our bag through. So do not sew on this bottom part, and you're going to sew this at a 3/8 seam allowance. Alright, so we've gone ahead and closed up our pockets, stitching down the sides and across the top. And the bottom is still open. I'm going to just remove my clips, and the bottom is still open. Alright, so let's move on to the next step, and you're going to grab your final zipper. So here I have my last zipper, a ruler, a pen, and a lighter. So we're gonna open the zipper at the end where my zipper is closing, and to the right it opens, so to the left. So on the left side is where I'm opening my zipper. And we are going to mark a 3/4 inch mark on the zipper on both sides. So my zipper has 3/4 inch markings. At that 3/4 inch mark, you want to pinch right where you drew that line. So right there, I am pinching right where I drew that line. It's probably hard to see, but right where I drew that line, I pinched. And now I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to bring that bottom side up to meet that pinch to create a 90-degree angle on my zipper. So I'm going to place a clip right there for now. So just like that. So see where that mark is where I made? I'm going to pinch right where that mark is, and then from down here I'm going to bring that zipper up to meet that pinch I made to make a 90-degree angle. Alright, so now we have this. So on this side, you don't have to do this. You can keep it clipped and go to the sewing machine and baste it down. But I'm going to clip away what's remaining there. And I'm going to use my lighter and I'm going to melt this to where it stays together. I'm still going to baste it, but this just helps in the end. Be careful not to burn yourself. So just like that, it'll hold it in place for you. So now you can take this to the machine and baste this so you make sure it doesn't come undone. I feel pretty good about these burns holding, but just in case, we're going to go baste it shut and on hold, I guess. Baste it to where it does not come open. Alright, our zipper tape is now prepped and stitched, so our zipper pull is now safe, although now we're going to take our zipper pull off. Yes, that is right. We're going to take our zipper pull off. So now we have two separate zipper sides, I guess, if you want to call it that. Yeah. So we're going to set this aside for now. So now we're going to use our main panel lining, and we're going to grab a ruler and 2.5 inches from the side along the top, we are going to make a mark. 2.5 inches in from the side. So I have my marks along the top, 2.5 inches in from the side. So now I'm going to grab my zipper tape, which will go along here just like that, and we're going to trail off this tail. We're going to tape this on right about there. So I'm going to lay some double-sided sticky tape between those lines. Right, I removed my backing, and now I'm going to place my zipper tape between those marks. So starting with my zipper teeth, I'm going to lay my zipper tape between those marks. And yes, the zipper tape is longer than the marks. We're trailing off this part of the zipper. So now you can go to your machine and baste that on at 1/4 inch between the marks. Don't go past the marks. So the marks are from here to here. You don't want to go past those marks. So I'm going to transfer that mark onto my tape so I can see it. But I'm not going to go baste this because I used double-sided sticky tape and I think it should be fine. So now we're going to grab one of our F pieces. That's what it looked like. It is a little bit tapered on the sides, so you want to make sure that you are going to lay down the shorter end and not the longer end because it's tapered just slightly. So I'm going to turn this over, right sides together, lining up my raw edges. Alright, once you have clipped on your what's this called? The zipper panel, you clip it on along the edge. Make sure that your zipper tail is out of the way because we made a marking up to where it needs to go to. You need to make sure that zipper tail is out of the way when you clip that. And then what we're going to do is that we're going to take this to the machine and we're going to sew across this clipped edge at a 3/8 seam allowance. Alright, we've sewn on our zipper panel. And now what we're going to do is that we're going to flip our zipper panel up, but we're going to flip this seam back toward the lining. So when you do that, your zipper kind of pops up and goes toward this panel. And that's what you want. You want to top stitch along your lining seam, so right along here at an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. So if you push back that seam towards the lining, this is what you want to see. And we're going to top stitch at an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Alright, so we've done our top stitching along that edge, just like that, and this is what you should have. Your zipper should be pointing toward your zipper panel piece. Alright, so now we're going to set this aside and we're going to grab our remaining main panel lining, which has our slip pocket, and our other top piece and other side of our zipper. So here we have the other pieces that we need. So I have the other side of my lining and the other piece of my zipper and the other top portion. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my ruler and a pen, and we're going to do the same thing, mark 2.5 inches in from the top on both sides. Go ahead and grab some double-sided sticky tape, and I'm going to lay that between those marked lines. So we are doing the same exact thing as we did on the other lining panel just now on this lining panel. Grab our zipper tape, raw end to raw end, so now this end is pointing towards the right. And we start on this edge, so where the zipper tape starts, or the zipper teeth, I guess, and go this way, and our tail will go out to the left side. Okay, so just like that, my tail is going to trail off right there. I'm not going to base this, but if you would like to, go ahead and base this at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now I'm going to grab our zipper panel top, I don't even know what this is called, but I'm going to grab this and I'm going to lay it right side down. And I'm going to lay this right side down, but it's not on the shorter end, it's on the longer end. Yeah, it's longer end. Alright, so I did the other one wrong, but it still seems to work out, so we're going to go with it. Alright, once we have that there, we're going to go take this to the machine and stitch this down at a 3/8 seam allowance. So we've stitched this down, and now we're going to flip up that panel piece, and we're going to flip our seam allowance back toward the lining, which pops up our zipper pointing upward. And we're going to top stitch along this seam at an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Alright, we are now done top stitching this panel, and now we're going to grab our other lining panel and we're going to flip them right sides together. And we're going to join our raw edges. I'm going to find these two seams right there, join them together and clip, and then clip down my sides. Alright, I have my sides clipped and my top just to help it stay in place, but we're not sewing at the top. We're just going to sew our side right here on both the right and the left at a 3/8 seam allowance starting at the top, and then increasing to a 1/2 inch down the sides on the lining to help reduce the bagginess in our lining. Alright, I've gotten the sides sewn down, and I did realize that my zipper tape was in the way of the seam allowance, my zipper tails, so I did move them out of the way before I sewed down this side. So when I clipped it, my zipper tape was sticking out here. You want to make sure that your zipper tape tails are inside, out of the way, tucked away before you sew this side. Alright, so now we're going to go grab our exterior of the bag. Okay, so here I have my exterior. I'm going to open it up. And there's the inside of my bag. And this is my lining. So what we're going to do is that we're going to keep our bag exterior right side out and a lining wrong side out. And we're going to put the exterior of the bag inside the lining. So I want to make sure zipper pocket, slip pocket. I think I want my zipper pocket towards the back, slip pocket towards the front. Alright, once you have your bag where the exterior is inside of your interior, so your interior is on the wrong side out, your exterior is right side out. So then right sides are together. So we're going to line the raw edges along the top together, and your flap is hanging out the bottom. So you want to make sure that flap is out of the way. So we are going to start by aligning the center part of our gusset the best we can. That's pretty center, and I'm going to move my D-ring down out of the way. And I'm going to place a clip there and place a clip here. Now I'm going to start clipping around the gusset, or around this top edge all the way around. Okay, I have my top edge clipped all the way around. My flap is out of the way, and now we can go sew all the way around at a 3/8 seam allowance. I've gotten the top sewn all the way around. I am bobbin dumping, so there is a lighter thread. So now I'm going to pull my exterior out through the bottom and my lining out to the top so I can push my lining into my bag. Alright, so once you got your lining out, so you should have this open, your pocket open. Okay, we're going to shove this into the bag. Alright, once you've got your lining tucked in there, now you want to roll all of your seams really, really well. I'm going to work at rolling my seams all the way around, and I'm going to place clips as I go. Alright, I've clipped all the way around my seam, and now we are ready for top stitching all the way around the top portion of the bag. Make sure to keep your flap out of the way, and let's go do this. We're almost done. Look how cute that looks. Yeah. So we've already done our top stitching, and it doesn't look too bad. I'm happy with that. So now what we're going to do is that we're going to pull the lining out from the bottom of the bag, and we're going to pull that through our pocket. I was kind of getting it a little ready there so I can pull it through my pocket. So we're going to open up our pocket. So right here is my pocket, and you should have left the pocket lining open. So this is where we're going to pull our lining through. So you just reach in there, pull your lining through. So that you got this crazy mess going on here. It looks crazy, but it's actually a really nice way to close up your lining. And then, so you close up your main lining through your pocket, and then you close your pocket. It's pretty genius. I love closing linings this way. So we're going to line up our raw ends best we can. So I'm going to put a few clips here. Alright, so here I have the bottom of the lining clipped. It kind of moved a little bit. That's okay. When you go to the machine, you can finagle it the way you need to. So I have the bottom clipped. And now we're going to go sew this at a 3/8 seam allowance, and then we'll come back and box our corners. So I have one there and one here. So let's go sew the bottom of the lining up at a 3/8 seam allowance. And I think I might want to put a tag in there. Alright, I put my tag in there, and now we're going to go sew this at the machine. Alright, the bottom of our lining is now sewn, and now we're going to box our corners. So you want to pull on both sides of your fabric. Let's see if I can get that in there. You want to pull on both sides of your fabric, just like this. And then you want to match up your seams, so your two seams right here, you want to match those up. I usually like to nest mine, where one goes in one direction and the other goes in the other direction to reduce the bulk. So once you have that nice and flat and boxed just like that, go ahead and put a few clips in place so it doesn't move. And we'll do the other side. So I grab the fabric on each side, I give it a little tug, and then I match my seams, making sure they go the same way. So this seam is going this way and this one going this way. And then we place some clips. And now we're going to go to the sewing machine and we're going to sew this at a 3/8 seam allowance, both sides, to box our corners. Once you have your corners boxed, go ahead and push through your lining back through that pocket, and then we're going to close up the pocket now. So you want to tug right on those edges just like that where we had done our folds, and that should help with naturally finding a place to fold it at. Now we're going to go sew this pocket closed at an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Alright, our pocket is now closed, and now we're going to shove that back into our pocket. And your pocket is now done. Close your zipper. Push my corners into my bag, and I think that turned out really cute. So now we're gonna put the ends on our zipper. Well, first we're gonna add our zipper pull before we forget. I am going to add my zipper pull, and then we're going to put our zipper end on our zipper. Alright, I've added my zipper to my my zipper pull to my zipper, and now we're going to add the zipper end. If you chose to do a fabric zipper end, then you can fast forward through this and finish the video. So what we're going to do is that we're going to just fold under the zipper tape to create something like that. So you're folding the zipper tape under. And then you're going to grab your zipper end. Mine's an extra large zipper end. You're going to push your zipper all the way until it reaches the end. And you're going to flip it over and grab the screw. I like to start it off by hand a little bit, so the threads kind of line up and I don't strip out my screw. Alright, so just like that, it is installed and our bag is done. Except for I haven't added the hardware to the strap, so we'll do that next and then we will be done. Yay! I do have all of my hardware protected, so that's why it looks kind of funny. Yay, look how cute! It's absolutely adorable. I love it so much. So cute. Alright, so let's finish up our strap so we can be done. Alright, let's prepare our strap. So here I have my wide mouth slider, which I really like to use when I use vinyl for straps, because vinyl can get a little thick for the normal sliders. So I'm going to slide that through, and I'm going to grab one of my swivel hooks with it facing upward. I'm going to feed it through this bottom, and then about there or so, which is, let's see, about an inch. It's about an inch. I'm going to place a clip to hold it there. Okay. And then on the other side, so we have our swivel and about an inch pulled through, and I clipped it. And then our slide adjuster, and keeping everything nice and straight. I'll grab my other swivel. Oh, yeah. Grab my other swivel with it facing up. Pull our strap through. This is what you should have. And then you want to grab the end of your strap, and if you pull up on your not swivel, your, what is this called, your slider, pull the vinyl away from your slider like that. You can push this bottom end in through the bottom from one side and back over the bar, just like that. And then you want to pull through about an inch or so as well. Or do whatever you like. It's all up in what you like to do. So then that vinyl goes around that bar, and this top is where it should move so you can adjust. So I'm going to place a clip right there as well. And then I'm going to rivet those, and we will be done. Alright, so here is the bag. She is done. I love the way it turned out, and I hope you enjoy making this bag as much as I did. And I would like to know if you make the bag and what you do, or if you make any changes, how it went for you. And yeah, thanks for watching this tutorial. So my final thoughts: I love this bag. Love, love, love the way it turned out. It's so pretty. I love the flap. The flap's just my favorite. Love that design feature. So if you make this bag, I'd love to see it. Please tag me on social media, or send me a message, and leave any comments down below if you have any questions or just want to say hello. And I'll also have all the links for everywhere. I'll have links for where I purchased everything to make this bag. And I hope y'all enjoyed it as much as I did. And thanks for being here. Thank you for supporting me. And see you later. Bye.